Okay, so we are back with another classic interview, and Nolan, the Nolan of now, those who know Nolan, a leader amongst our community, an agent of change, working and building the life class, a coach impacting and dramatically altering lives through personal training, group fitness, and you've been doing that for 10 years. That path, or that individual, was not always who I just described. So what I'd love you to do is take us on this journey of your growth and development. And if you could, take us back 10, 12 years or so and paint that picture of who you were back then. A lot of people don't know who you were back then, and it's fuzzy for me. So
yeah, well, thank you for that intro. So thank you for all that. So let's see. 10 years ago, I was 20. I started here this month I've been a railroad now for 10 years, and I think back then I was still very unsure of like who I was. Like there wasn't like a cemented identity. There wasn't like a lot of certainty there. There wasn't really any idea of what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, what made me happy, who I wanted to surround myself with. I think like the clearest way to kind of answer that is like there really wasn't like a certain identity. There wasn't a picture of like what a great life looks like. My life coach and I talk about that all the time. Like, what does a great life look like, right? Because like otherwise, you kind of maybe settle for mediocre things like that. There was a lot of things that I was doing driven from like ego and significance chasing, things like that. It's kind of hard to think back on like what I was like 10 years ago. It's funny, I look through Facebook, and I don't have like a lot of like pictures, memories, things like that from then, because it's so far from like who I am now. It's hard to think back to things I used to do, and I think we all look at that where there's change, there's behaviors you give up, there's things you don't identify with anymore. But I think probably the thing that's popping in my mind right now is it was like a lesser version of myself 10 years ago.
Coming out of high school, did you know where you wanted to go?
Zero idea. I spent two years at Columbia Green because I thought that's what I needed to do. Didn't leave with a degree or anything. Like that's not, and I don't look back at that time as like that being a negative at all. But I went to Columbia Green, putzed around there for a little bit. Hung out with some friends, took up some odd jobs here and there. I remember my mother used to say, like, you do whatever you want, right? You go work a job, go to school, whatever you want. But I didn't know what to do with that. I was uncertain of again, like what to do. I kind of like just putzed around, did. I really think I really did anything. I worked out. Work a job at Lowe's that I was doing before I started here. I had like no clear picture whatsoever. It was kind of just like I'm just living, waking up, doing a thing, going to sleep, like no real like purpose, like really a whole lot of anything.
And we spoke offline, leading into the next phase, that can really lead an individual into meeting the needs of others and putting themselves on the back burner. And we talked that you shared a lot of your earlier youth was about doing that. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think probably a large majority of like my late teens, early 20s, which wasn't that long ago, was spent doing things that I thought would make other people happy. And how I felt about myself was based upon like how other people saw me. So I was like, was I cool enough? Was I getting praise? Was I like the topic of conversation? Like, it's really hard to kind of even like think about like the way I was then, because I think it's very far removed from who I am now. But a lot of my happiness, fulfillment, significance was coming from am I doing the things that other people want me to do, or am I really doing the things that I want to do? there's jobs that I had moments that I loved, but I kind of stuck onto them because, that's what this person wanted me to do, because I really enjoyed being around this person. But yeah, it was a lot of just like, doing things not for myself or things that fulfilled me, but more like, this person thinks I should do this, so I'm gonna take part in this thing or go do this thing. So that's what a majority of like where my happiness and fulfillment was coming from. It's like through the lenses of other people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if they're honest, could relate to that, which leads to where you said you weren't really sure of yourself, and then you're seeking to do things for the approval of others. I know you mentioned it could even be challenging to go back to that former version of yourself. If you could you remember what were some of the reasons why those traits and behaviors were that way? What were you seeking?
I mean, like I we talked like offline. I was walking over here thinking about like what we're gonna do like for this interview, and I think the thing that came to my mind is a lot of it was ego driven. It's significance seeking. Trying to be the fastest in the workout, or being loud and boisterous, and if you guys knew me 10 years ago, I yelled all the time. Like there was, I get loud now. I think it's, like when I'm coaching or working out by my moments, but it was like I'm operating at a 10 all the time, and people are operating at like a 3. Just trying to like make myself like the center. A lot of that was just like it was a lot of my behaviors and attributes were fulfilling the need of just trying to feel significance and like stroke the ego, where it's like like how do I like grow that.
Yeah, that's incredible honesty to look back and be able to capture. That was a huge driving factor of why I was doing a lot of things I was doing. Let's get a little uncomfortable as we can kind of lean into there. Yeah. Everybody, I don't care who you are, experiences across their life hard moments, uncomfortable moments, moments that life will test you and challenge you. People will test you and challenge you. And again, in preparation for this, we talked. A lot of those moments created defining moments for you to choose a path. So if you are open to maybe some of the uncomfortable steps or moments that have happened, and how you reacted, and how you chose to show up, and what kind of came from
Yeah.
this.
So the first one, I never really thought of myself as like a leader, or never, like I should say never, but maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, service or like wasn't a main driver for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when my grandmother passed away, and like how lost my grandfather was, and how it was kind of one of those like, do I continue to kind of be not kind of, but continue to be like the, it's like putting myself first and like doing things that like I need to do, or stepping up in the ways that I need to support my grandfather, who became like lost almost like instantly. It was like these behaviors that he had that I knew him a certain way, like it changed overnight, and it was like it's like I couldn't imagine him suffering any more than he was. So it's stepping up to meet his needs and serve him, and not from a position of like again, like I don't feeling like significant through his eyes, or doing look for anything in return, but just knowing that like I'm gonna do the best that I can to make his life easier, serve him, show up in the ways that he needs, and regardless if he gives that back, or which he did. Like towards the end, it was beautiful. Like we never would say out loud like we love each other. And that's like something I do a lot now. I try to do it more with you, with Abby, with Peter, because it's something that's like very rarely said. But I remember like the last day it was live. We said like I love you to each other, and it's like that was huge for me. Because it was like we grew closer through serving him more. So that was like the first one. I carried that a lot, because like it happened to like my grandmother passing away, and then when my grandfather passed away, it kind of like doubled down. I remember like I called my mother and told her, you know, what had just happened, and it was like, you know, and it kind of stepping into that position for her, and like it just feeling more natural because okay, like, you know, it's like putting in the reps and working on that. But that was kind of like the first like real like ugly or uncomfortable moment where it was like, okay, like let's step into this and like, you know, do the things that we need to, and that's led to service, or really, you know, like fulfilling others being like a huge part of who I am. Like, you know, it's there's nothing more rewarding, you know, when it's you know, you can see somebody else light up because of like just this, you know, serving others. There's very few things like that. Probably like the other uncomfortable moment that I learned, you know, you can't run away from uncomfortable moments because they lead to the most growth, is you and I had a moment that's probably about 4.5 years ago, where rather than maybe, you know, like sitting down, having a conversation, talking about things, I chose to do like ugly things, you know, gossip, vent to other people, just do things that, you know, like, even, I mean, it's only 4 years ago, but like things that I would, like, if I could go back and like look at myself then, I might like, you know, shake myself, you know. And as uncomfortable as that moment was, you know, us having like that sit down, I remember like it was yesterday, you know, from that, you know, I just learned so much about like, you know, like what's really important, how important it is to like keep a circle that you feel supported by and fulfilled by and enriched by, how you need to lean into uncomfortable moments, you know, and have tough conversations. That's really where the growth happens. I think, you know, a lot of us will forego difficult conversations because it's like I'm okay dealing with the pain now, as it could be little by little, but stacks and stacks and stacks, rather than just sitting down and being okay, like vulnerable, a little uncomfortable, and like growing from that. But I think those two are the two that really stick out in my mind of like, okay, like change has to happen here if you want to. I think with you and I, kind of like the gym, like, you know, keep this moving forward and like grow and better support each other and better understand each other. And then the moment with my grandparents, you know, just show up for the people that are most important for you. You know, that's really how you show up. Like, how do you show up like in the toughest moments?
Yeah, and it's powerful to anchor in moments that there's extreme loss or there's extreme look in the mirror moments to draw growth, to draw a self-evaluation. And from those things, when we get to a little bit later in life class, our relationship really just took off and improved, even from something that was real low for both of us. What do you feel, I mean, it probably stems from these two moments and maybe more of them. When and what do you feel created the shift? Because there definitely was a shift. We talked about this, where a lot of people, when confronted with challenges, adversity, moments of difficulty like that, can choose to blame, can choose to run away, can choose to not face the music. What shift occurred within you inside to want to evolve into something better, a higher version of self?
I think thinking on that moment between you and I, the shift occurred, I think, when, you know, we were removed from it, and I remember you and I had that talk, and it was, you know, it was very uncomfortable. I remember like leaving, and it was like, you know, I was blown away that, you know, we stepped away from it, and you were like, hey man, like, we're good. And I was just like, how is this possible, right? You know, it's like, if you imagine like these moments, like they're gonna be like scorched earth, you know, and And the shift occurred when I was like, how does this never happen again? Because like, you're that important to me, you know, how do I not let this happen again? Like, what changes need to happen so that way, like, this can happen, this can never happen again, right? And of course, like, there's going to be bumps along the road, you know, like, and things happen, but okay, like, what do we learn to step forward? And, you know, that was the shift in there, like, the question I asked, like, okay, like, what things do I need to do to again, like, not allow this to happen again, so we can build upon this and forge a better relationship. I think that was a really big shift for me. It's okay, like, what things can I control to have a better impact on our relationship and all, like, things just moving forward. I think that as a shift as a whole, like, that was a really big one. Like, just realizing, like, what I can control and what I can't control. And, you know, it's like I can't control how someone else reacts, but I can control how I react to it. I control, like, what I do. So, you know, say if, like, you know, I have an issue with someone, like, I can't control, like, what they're going to do. I can bring to them the best that I can and express these things. Whereas in the past, I would let it stew. I might resentment, anger, outbursts, like, all those things come with that. But I think that was the biggest shift for, you know, it's like it's what growth do I need to work on to allow this to never happen again, and then just staying in control of what I can control. Because I think the other situation, you know, like the moments of discomfort, I think what I learned from losing my grandparents was, you know, how to just show up better for others in times of loss. Like, it's inevitable, or even just in hard times in general, because there's never not going to be hard times. That makes sense, right? So, you know, how do you grow from that? Be vulnerable, like, experience that grief, that loss, that pain, but then also take that and then learn from it, and how to you know, better show up for others and serve others. And that's where kind of, like, you know, where life class came from, you know, kind of taking that pain and shifting it into service. So I would say, like, those were the two biggest shifts I had to take, you know, like, these uncomfortable moments, grow from them, control what we can control, and just kind of, like, you know, raise the standard that you live by.
Taking those moments as catalysts, your growth since then has just been exponential as a man, as a human being, as a professional, as a friend. What benefits have you felt in your life, full circle, outside your profession, inside your profession, you as a person, your relationship, you as a friend, have come from choosing growth, choosing to grow, choosing to lean into these moments and find the opportunities to truly grow?
What benefits have I found? It's hard to it's like, it's so, like, because I just know them now, right? You know, it's
Life class came out of your...
Yeah, like, the benefits are kind of endless. Like, life class came out of it. Like, I have this beautiful group of people, like 10 to 16 people I see 3 days a week, where, you know, I had this vision of, all right, like, my grandparents are gonna come work out here. They smoke 4 packs of Marlboros a day and drink Diet Pepsi, and the things these people do in this class now are, like, far beyond the just, like, the box I contained it to initially. I think, you know, through all the growth, you know, through the uncomfortable times and the conversations, you know, my life is a lot more fulfilled. You know, I've learned that, okay, like, significance seeking and stroking the ego works for some people. It's not for me. You know, where I used to think, like, okay, I need to have, like, this huge extended circle. Like, I have a beautiful group of, like, it's you, Peter, Abby, Emily, everybody inside the gym, you know, and that's like, and then, like, a handful of friends outside of that, like, and that's enough, you know. It's like, it's you know, they say, like, you are who you, what the 5 people you surround yourself with, and, like, this is it. Like, that stuff works, you know. Yeah, I mean, like, I think through the growth in dealing with uncomfortable moments, maybe, like, the ugly aspects of your personality, you're going to create the life that you really want. You know, I spent a lot of time in my 20s working jobs I didn't enjoy, but there were a lot more moments of I don't like this than I ever experience now. You know, most people can't fathom waking up 5 days a week at 5:15, but it's like I get out of bed and I'm like, I get to go turn on my wrestler persona, lead people through fitness, high five, have fun, give out hugs, crank, you know, tunes, stuff like that. And it's like I get to do that 5-6 days a week. You know, like that's like it's work, but it's like it's not really work. I don't see it as like, you know, I'm working a job. Yeah.
I think there's a something I want to highlight about you is where maybe in the past you were more like you mentioned, ego stroking. You're being extremely modest here, where you know, this version of ourselves that was painted not in the best light, and we all, if we're honest, have this former version that we hopefully have shed some layers of that skin, and to the version now where at every opportunity of difficulty you choose growth, you show up, you step up. Every moment that a teammate needs you, you lead individuals. That's a high profile arena for you, of whether that's through life class, which you came to me with the idea of like, hey, I want to give back, I want to contribute, and that's, you shifted your needs from significance to growth and contribution, and those are the soul fulfilling needs, and you put a real focus on those, and now you're giving back into a community, and to me, preserving this memory of your grandparents, which, you know, they're looking down and seeing what you're doing with smiles and filled hearts, because you're giving life back to people and elongating life and making it better at the 50, 60 years, 70 years of age. And that's a snippet. You know, you're showing up better in your relationship. You're seeking out ways to grow and to evolve. You're constantly adding value to yourself so you can give back to others, and learning about things that, you know, I think a lot of people in our positions as coaches just stop after a certain point, where it's, how can I help people get out of pain? How can I help people eat better? How can I help people, you know, XYZ, these areas that can kind of be the outer scope of a circle, but just making yourself a jack of all trades. You know, so while I can appreciate your modesty from the benefits of the growth from someone who's seen the growth across 10 years, even in the smallest moments of someone, you're not triggered by things that would trigger you anymore, and that's growth. You know, like life is going to test you in small and big moments, and I think one of the beauty things of you is you're extremely intelligent, and you choose to take something good, bad, or indifferent, and you choose to learn from it, and then grow from it. And now, like, what's beautiful about your story is, you mentioned at the beginning, you never saw yourself as a leader, a person of influence, and now that's who you are. And I mean, my goodness, I feel like people would kill to have a job. Number one, they say you don't work. It's like, we feel that way because we love what we do. You get to go serve people and create an experience and be silly but yet be serious, and you love what you do. You're fulfilled in what you do. We talked offline as well, how we all have gone through that period where you think money and more money somewhere across our growing up that's what people chase, college and education and this and that. And we know that it's important in an avenue, but that's not, it's an avenue. It's not what's going to fulfill you. Where like we, through our growth, if you talk about fulfillment.
I think that's an important point, is really like narrowing down what you want or what you don't want. You know, it creates a lot of clarity and like what things will fulfill you. Like you said, like I spent a large part of my 20s, you know, I'd chase money, work all the time, even run myself into the ground, think I needed, you know, I used to drive a car that was like, you know, like 30 grand, don't really need that. When really, you know, it's leaning into like, you know, contribution, service, giving to others, being there for other people. Like, those are the things that people remember you for, not because, you know, you had a fancy pair of shoes on. I love my shoes, but feel like leaning into those things
for sure. And coming to the end here, because we talked, growth is a constant journey. It's not somewhere you get to and you're like, I'm done, I've grown. What do you consider some of the actions, daily habits, things you focus on. If you have a list, or if you have some thoughts, or just the behaviors that you do, or things you listen to, whatever it is, what are the things that you do on the regular to contribute to help you grow?
I think probably at the smallest level,
This receipt is just following
they
us
want
around.
you to stay. The smallest things are probably just trying to learn a little bit each day. A lot of us get wrapped up on like, okay, I need to make this huge jump from like here to like here in the shortest amount of time possible. Which like you can do that. It's very rare, but if you can just kind of like, hey, like move the needle. They talk about like, moving at 1% each day, like what that looks like over the course of a year versus like if you go down by 1%. So it's as simple as like I get in the car, I put on there's a 4-minute podcast, Justin Sue every morning. It's like cool, like covers like a thought of the day. That's something very small. I've gotten more into the habit this once. Got in the habit of like just writing out like thoughts. If I'm frustrated by something, if I'm like in a peak state about something, if something went really well, went really bad, like I'll try to like put down notes because it's there's so much going in every day. It's like you're either gonna forget it or it's over time gonna get warped into this big hairy scary monster that's not really, it's not, if we're talking like negative stuff, or you forget like the highlights. Like this morning, how happy Nancy was taking part in the back half of life class, like writing that down in Milky, like that was a really cool moment, like not to forget it. So it's like really small things, kind of like bigger things that have contributed to growth is like you turned me on to like, hey, like hiring or working with we'll call it like a life coach, right? Where it's like, hey, like I can take these things that maybe I don't understand, need help on, feedback on, want to just dissect a little bit more. Her and I talk twice a month about things like that. She needs steps to like take and kind of execute on that. Keeping what's important. And this is more of like a mindset thing where it's okay, like what's really important, like what's not really important, and that requires a little more discipline because you can be kind of tugged in different directions. So it's like, hey, is this thing like really important, or is it kind of just taking away from like the bigger picture? So that's been a really big one, just in terms of like, okay, like what do I need to execute on, make sure I'm doing, from like the simplest things of like, am I making sure I'm drinking 100 ounces of water every day, or am I getting into bed at the right time so I can continue to show up here early in the morning, to like bigger things like, am I making sure that I'm like stashing money away, or touching base with the people that I need to, like that I work with in here and things like that, and also making time for myself. I think a lot of people, they'll work. I think we all understand that about each other. Like it's much easier to put your head down and just work and avoid, or that's the word I was looking for. Like avoid things, or not really put in the work you need to. So like taking time for yourself, where it can be as simple as like, I still like to play PlayStation, so I'll play, that's me like unplugging, unwinding. So it's taking that time to kind of like down regulate, or taking time for yourself can also mean like, hey, stepping away from work and like putting time in relationships that you need to, whether it's your significant other, your friends, family, things like that. Or it's even like, making time for the growth work. It's like on a Sunday, like getting up, like going for a walk and listening to a podcast, like being disciplined about those behaviors, things like that. So yeah, I think those are like the little, like the big things that have really helped cement kind of like and keep like progressing on the growth.
For sure. Well, again, I want to thank you for painting the arc of where you once were to what created some shifts, and then where you are currently. And I would imagine we're going to look at you in 3-6 months, however much time from now, and you're going to be just another evolution of yourself as you grow, and maybe you look back at this version and be like, wow, like that guy was only here and now I'm operating from here, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your story and sharing the missing ingredient is growth.
Thank you, man. I mean, I want to just before we kind of wrap this up, we'll dab up now, but I can't say enough like how important it is. I want to look at you, but also look at the camera. Do both these, but you need to surround yourself with the people that are gonna push that, right? So I want to just thank you. You know, it's like you're a very large part of like, you know, why I am the way I am today. You know, and it's feel like the uncomfortable, the comfortable. You know, just pushing for that. So I want to thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
I love that.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.